the Shadow Crew podcast.
Well, hello.
Hello.
What's up?
Good evening.
And welcome
to the Shadows Crew.
I thought you were trying to do something, go around the table.
Oh, we could have. That could have been great.
Anyway, forget it now. Forget it.
We're done. Oh shit, we're live. We can't go back and start.
Yeah, we'll fix
scratch.
this in editing.
Welcome to another episode 21 of the Shadow Knows Crew podcast here on all ways that you can stream and listen to us live. We're excited to have you tune in. As a reminder, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Please subscribe and like. Just kidding, but we need your support in helping us grow the channel.
Most people are not subscribed that watch this, so it doesn't hurt. Just
one click. It's a click of the button, click of the mouse. Speaking of mouse, let's jump right into it. Which the latest news is that Steamboat Willie, the original version of Mr. Mickey Mouse, has now come up into the public domain as of the first of the year. And what does that mean is that it's basically free for anybody to use. And oh boy, are they beginning to use it. So I guess we've talked about it a bit, about how we think we'd use it, how people are using it today, horror films, video games. What's everyone's take on this iconic character now being free for anybody to use in different ways? It's so weird.
Well, I've got to say, I think it is absolutely deserved. You know, they've held on to the rights for so long, and they actually went through the whole, I remember the Mickey Mouse litigation that they did in Congress to make sure they held on to it. And I just think that it's gotten to the point now where, like they most definitely are getting what they deserve. Like it's happened with Sherlock Holmes, Peter Pan. Last year it happened with Winnie the Pooh. Eventually these mega corporations, cannot hold on. That's the reason why we have public domain. And I think Disney's kind of getting their 1-2s. They've held on to that. I remember there was a story years ago about there was a preschool, and they had painted a bunch of Disney characters on the wall. And Disney, just the standard. This wasn't like some major chain or anything. It's just a small little preschool someplace, and they made them paint it over. And very heroically, Hanna-Barbera came and said, "Well, you can use all of our characters." But this is the kind of thing that Disney has done over the years. They've gotten that bad will, and there's a lot of people, especially in the last year or two, they've really gotten a lot of it. So people are waiting, man. And I'm just surprised that they were waiting until the crack of midnight on the 1st to start this stuff.
Now, here's one of the things, though, because it's not entirely free to use for anybody to do what they will, because Disney has used the Steamboat Willie character as the logo for their Walt Disney Animation Studios. So now that is a trademark, and that has a whole different thing. So you can't use that character the way it looks in that for certain things, because they can claim it's a trademark violation.
Oh man.
But so it's a kind of a weird area, because I think it was like in the 70s and in the 90s again, they re-upped, they paid enough money off to Congress that they were like, you know what, that 75 years after someone dies, no, it's 99 now. So
yeah.
So how are they getting away with the horror film? Because that's interesting to me.
Because you can use the name and the situations and the characters and everything, but I think there's you can't use the specific images that they've got. But it's like Winnie the Pooh, right? What was it, Blood and Honey?
Yeah.
They can take that character as long as it doesn't look exactly like that trademark Steamboat Willie. You can do whatever you want with it now.
Got it. Makes sense. Well,
And that's Disney coming to stop us.
yeah. We're going to need you to take down your virtual wallpaper, sir.
Well, this is what's happening now.
It's pure defiance. This is what this is.
But it's an all right cartoon. Have you guys watched it?
Yeah,
It's not great.
No. I think it'd be cool to I think this could be a good action film. I see it has the makings of a good intro, a Bond intro.
It's either like got a Bond or like a Rambo feel to it. This is kind of like Rambo because it is a boat, So it's like he's always in a jungle.
And there's the bad guy.
That's it.
Well, anyway.
That's what happens.
Yeah, and again, all that, and you got to give Walt and his brother Roy the credit that they deserve. But I don't think that they, the living embodiments of themselves, would be kind of happy with, what's really transpired with the way Disney has just become a multi-conglomerate company that's only cared about their profits. And it's bound to happen,
Not enough
man.
though, because they've screwed it up like the last 5 years. Like I was looking at some of the stuff about Disney, and they were the number one studio from like the mid 2000s. Just every year they always made enough above everyone else until 2019. And it was slowly going down. And this is I think the first year Universal beat them at the box office because of Mario.
Yep. So there's what is going to be the horror rendition of Steamboat Willie. It's kind of a scary mask.
Are they doing that kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's kind of situation? Or
it looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a very, very interesting looking.
Well, I mean, you could do. What if this was Halloween, and instead of a Kirk mask, it's a Mickey Mouse mask that he's going around murdering people with?
Yeah,
you could just actually. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna have a Mickey Mouse mask on Michael Myers instead.
Yeah.
See how that works out.
Trademark TM right now. Ding.
Yeah, I still like Weed Smoke Billy, the Cheech and Chong version of Steamboat Willie. I think that's the way to go. And I think this is the crew to write the script, to be honest with you. It could even be animated.
Sure.
Oh, we could. Just a very rough animation just to kind of get it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And you could have Steamboat Willie. That's it. That's not his real voice. Like his real voice, like the acting voice is like, ha, but like, and cut. And he's like, with like a cigarette, like
a pirate.
Amazing. Yeah. It could be like a Roger Rabbit type of feel too. You could do some like live action stuff. So I don't know, but it is out there, public domain. So looking more towards probably seeing this character in other versions of print and multimedia. So,
well, and also, as with anything, they're going to immediately do a ton of porn with it, and there's going to be, Motorboat Willie, all sorts of stuff. So,
oh God, I hope not.
I'm not yet. I was told to watch my
I just hope that the title is not Steamboat's Willie, because that to me would be that would be definitely going too far. Speaking of Disney, is Star Wars that's made the news, a couple different things. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the new stuff that's coming out, some of the stuff that might be exciting, but I think what probably is the major news break for Star Wars is the new director was announced. I think Charmin Obaid Chinoy who's been at the helm of one of the Star Wars films, was on a panel not related to Star Wars, but was asked a question and did an interview. And one of the things obviously went viral, some controversial things, some people took offense to. And so in a time in which obviously Disney has had some trouble with press and, you know, some of the things that they've put out, and the recent stuff that happened a couple months ago with Snow White and the reshoots that have happened, and the star who said some things, here we are again. So, you know, what's your take here? Is it another case of like, this is already digging its own grave? But it doesn't look really great for the Star Wars universe when you have this much negative press already.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is Disney's way of saying, like, Bud Light, hold my beer. Because they were like, you know what? We saw what happened with you. So Bud Light, hold my beer. And we're going to continue to destroy everything that you loved about it. And I feel like it's also could insert Bud Light or, you know, DCU, hold my beer. Like, because literally I don't know. The whole interview is just like, hey, entire fan base that has made this what it is and what it could be. We don't give a shit about you. And so, like, check out this interview.
Yeah, I thought it was one of those incredibly irresponsible things to do, especially with the state that Disney's in right now.
Yeah,
You know, they're not making the record profits they are. If I believe correct, Universal did. I think also Dr. Brindley said that Universal took them over this year as the number one film studio. And you know, here's the thing: as much as you know, no one ever has a problem with, like, you know, you get the right director, the right person. Doesn't matter what gender or sex they are. It just, as long as they're the right person, they're passionate about the product, and they come in and do. But when you have someone do an interview on CNN and completely just demolish everything, and first of all, why do we care if it's we don't, whether it's a woman, a male, or anyone else that decides to direct the movie? Why is that the overfine? You made it about yourself and not about the franchise. You know, it's like before, you know, no one knew who really George Lucas was when he did the first Star Wars, because he wasn't that notoriety. He doesn't go for the directors back then.
Yeah,
he just put out good work and then he got notoriety. But this person is already just alienated the entire. I've been on, like, you know, not only do we watch our channels, we watch other people's channels, and I'm seeing it all over, from, like, you know, everything on all kind of social media.
Even
this movie is doomed.
Even sites I didn't expect it to be on.
Yeah,
probably pretty negative move here. Kind of.
Now they're taking a lot of what she said previously in years ago, you know, and then conflating it with what's going on today. But what she said years ago was, I like to make men uncomfortable. And okay, that's who you want to do a Star Wars movie? Okay, that does not sound like a great idea for a box office success. So,
well, yeah, because you got that whole demographic isn't going to go watch it, which is the demographic that gets the other demographic to go watch it. So, like, you just it's a bummer, because this is the same shit. I think is there. I went and saw Aquaman 2 in, like, IMAX with kids. And
did it help?
Well, yes, no, but here's the thing. Ultimately, you watch Aquaman, right, or any of the previous, like, Black Adam, right? You had the whole thing of Black Adam where, you know, Superman shows up and says, we need to talk. And so you have, like, everything going well, and then somebody comes and says, we're not doing this anymore, right? Or, like, we're changing it. They've changed everything. And so now no one cares about DC movies. And that's literally that's what this move is going to be with like Star Wars, because it's like maybe it's not going to be directed to like Hateman or whatever, or whatever her previous words were, but the fact is that everyone's going to wonder if that's the lens used now to direct this movie, and no one's going to care to spend their money on it. I just think it's the James Gunn of Star Wars.
Well, like I said again, it's incredibly irresponsible. It's
Yeah.
like, the thing about it, and as much as everyone has a little gripe and everything else, and outside of this, Dr. Brittany and I make our bones in Hollywood, and
Yeah.
The number one goal of a filmmaker, no matter whether you're the writer, director, and everything, is to make the studio its money back. If you're using your own money, is to make your own money back.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly irresponsible when you're playing with people's money and you start making it about yourself. That should never be, you should never enter the equation, other than when it's time to get recognized for a job well done, they go to you. But when you already start this off and you made it about you, and now we're not even talking about Star Wars itself, we're talking about somebody's previous comments from a while ago. And CNN did a great job of jumpstarting people's anger because people were like, well, wait a minute, what was this? It was immediate. The next morning, I was waking up and there was hundreds of people pissed already.
Feel like that's such a good point. I really feel like this was just like CNN shock media, just so no one could outdo them, to be honest.
Well, and probably CNN was doing it for their ratings,
Yes.
It's because now everyone's going to be linking back to this interview and saying like, you see, we got them. And also for Disney, they've just had like 5 years of the whole go woke, go broke thing. And as they've gone broke, they still have not changed their tune.
Yeah.
And we still have Snow White coming out before any of this stuff. It's like Disney is going down the tubes unless they do a course correction. And all it is just make family entertainment. That's it. That's
Just
all you have to do.
Just get back to writing it. Like the other day, I just need background noise. So I went and I put on Winnie the Pooh, the animation. And I was like, I wish.
Not the horror movie?
No. I was like, I wish that there was writing like this right now, because it's very much about a kid, but the overtones are very adult, but it's also just a good story. And right now, there's no good story. There's some hidden agenda. There's some other thing happening. There's some like whatever, like we talked about. Just like maybe that's not going to be her direction now, but I don't know.
But also, when you do things like that, that's the whole thing of writing. You can hide any story you want into it, any message you want, but you have to make it not seem like you're saying, hey, get this message.
Yeah.
It's you do it subtly, and if people pick up on it, then it resonates a lot better than I'm stuffing this down your face. You better like it.
Yeah.
I think if there's anything though, because I don't think you could compare the Star Wars recent stuff to the Marvel stuff. And I think that there has been a few okay Star Wars series. We know the last movie was not great, but overall it's actually been much better than the recent MCU stuff. So I do say, regardless of this controversy, you've got Dave Filoni now at the helm at Lucasfilm, proven success in the stuff that he's touched, along with Favreau. You've got a lot of good stuff leading up to it, and then you have a couple things. You got obviously The Mandalorian coming again. You've got 4 different series in 2024. You got the final season of The Bad Batch, Skeleton Crew, which is a new series, Acolyte, which is a new series, in the Knights of the Old Republic timelines, which that's awesome. And then season 2 of Tales of the Jedi, plus some, the other. I mean, do you think still, regardless of this, which could turn people off with this particular movie is Star Wars still, there are high hopes for it. Because in my opinion, as long as Filoni's in charge, there hasn't been a massive point of letdown. So I would say I still have high hopes for the Star Wars universe.
Well,
What do you all
yeah, I think they're doing. Hopefully they'll get back. Our only esteem is, like I said, stop making it about yourself, make it about the products. Filoni is the person who studied underneath George Lucas. He's the rightful heir, if you will say that. He's done the grind and he's put in the time, and he knows the universe well. And also, John Favreau's done an excellent job. And
Yeah.
when the entire franchise was tanking, they brought in the Mandalorian and all these other things to bring it up. And then again, it's like, here's a character that categorically no one wanted to see again. No one wanted to see the last sequels. No one wanted to see those. And this same character, they're doing same thing, shoving it down the throat. While you looked at it, when people say, well, there's a problem with the Star Wars toxic male fandom, nobody complained about Ahsoka. Everyone thought that was a great series. People were really excited to see that series done right. There were a lot of great in Andor. There was a lot of female characters that were leads that were done correctly. It's just, just get us back to just the key central is a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
And just about a good storytelling. That's all.
Complicated characters, not just like, oh, well, I'm virtue and, women are strong and that kind of bullshit. That kind of takes away from the whole point that you're trying to make. I think you need to make someone vulnerable and fail at first. And then when they do succeed, then everyone is behind them. If they're immediately successful, then who cares? Oh, well, I guessing she's going to win at the end, right?
Well, yeah, that pretty much, you have to be completely crazy not to know who was going to be the winner and losers. That one, it's like we already know that character is going to make it through at the end of their journey.
Any movie, though, right, where you've got a hero and you've got a villain, if they are fighting, and pretty much 99% of the time, the hero's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can create in the writing something you're like, you know what? Actually, I don't know if they're going to make it out of this. Then you've got something. If it's just, easy, who cares?
We talked about this in previous casts, but Godzilla -1, one of the best films of last year. If you all haven't have the opportunity, go to the YouTube channel. We did a year-end, the Box Office Graveyard Awards of 2023, the best films, the best of various categories, toys, etc. And then we gave out some awards for the duds, the bad things, the garbage. But Godzilla -1 did win an award for best movie, one of several awards. And that director and writer, that creative mind behind that shocked the world with how well it was done, had mentioned he would love to do a Star Wars film.
Yep.
If I'm Filoni, I'd say, hey, here you go. And let's give you a character. Maybe we're not going to give you the big thing, but let's give you a character in the Star Wars universe and run with it. Either make a film or a TV series. If that were to happen, I don't want to put anybody on the spot here, but is there a character that comes to mind that you would want to see, like, that hasn't had its own film in the mind
I got
of
something
this guy?
crazy.
Okay.
C-3PO.
Oh.
Because he's lived through the entire Star Wars saga. So you can take Anthony Daniels while he's still alive, although I'm sure they've recorded his voice, so he will be C-3PO in perpetuity. But, you get him, and it doesn't even have, it could be animated. You don't have to actually put him in the damn suit anymore. But you can do little bits of Star Wars history, like things before and after that we've seen, little, insert things. And that could be very interesting, I think. And from the droid's point of view, C-3PO and R2.
I love that. I love that. That'd be awesome. I think, and that's a character. It's like, it's not the I mean, he's such an important role in all these various things, but he's, you know what I mean?
Right.
You're not
He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be in any of the shit that's going on, you know? He's like,
Yes.
no, get me out of here.
Yeah.
That would be a fun character.
That'd be amazing. Here's one thing that I thought of, which would be really cool. There's one thing that I think that we've never seen, which is an actual Vader series. They probably would never give the keys to him. That'd probably be Filoni at the helm of that. But that needs to happen. But the massive battle in a Hoth, right, with the, you know, all the AT-ATs and all that. Wonder if you were to take that, like, and do like a mini series 4-part and concentrate on specific like battles and characters and things that were involved in that, because it's such an epic battle. Because he's done Godzilla and like he could do it like big scale too, and you tell like these miniature stories in the heart of this big battle that doesn't include the Skywalkers and whatnot. That'd be cool too. Like if you were to do something like that. I like your C-3PO. If I had a choice, I'd go C-3PO. But I'm like, maybe you do something where he could show off his skills.
Yeah, as a giant epic, right? You could do, and each season could be a different battle, like the Battle of Hoth. You do the Battle of Endor. You can, you know, do all these different huge things. And it would be cool. Just you see it from the secondary character's point of view. What was Wedge doing?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And there's a successful video game series called Battlefront.
Yeah, I love
where
that
you
game.
can play, like, make a series based on that and have him have him do it. Like he at a budget. I mean, Disney's got the budget, but if you said, "Hey, we're trying to be we'll give you half the budget," he will do it so well, and you don't need like this crazy CGI because he did such a tremendous job with Godzilla. So anything else, Chet, Alex, did we miss, like, if they gave him a Star Wars thing? Because I think it'd be super cool if they gave this director a shot.
Well, I think that's the same way where they did, Edwards, when he took over, when he did a movie called Monster, then he did Godzilla. You know, this guy did a low budget film on his own, and mostly did a lot of the work to it, special effects and everything included. And that did well for him. I think that, you know, you have to give opportunities. And I think that there are enough opportunities. And even with this past director, she was a documentary director. You know, the same thing happened for Empire Strikes Back. So their hearts and minds are in the right places. It's just, I think the limelight's too big for certain people and they start feeding into their own egos. And again, your number one job as anyone that works on the film is to make the studio its money back. If you're sitting in a situation and you don't come through in mind with that, then you have no part of being in this business.
I will say though that she did say it like two different places, the same exact thing. So it might have even been talking points from Disney, like, this is what you need to say during an interview.
Yeah,
which, you know,
which we all know
in charge of that should be fired.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's this Lando movie that's supposed to be made, but
hopefully
it was a TV series, and then it was Donald Glover. Who knows? But hey, I'm a big Star Wars fan, big Star Wars nerd. I hope it succeeds. We shall see. Dipping into the Marvel MCU. We've talked about it in various episodes, the struggle, and there didn't seem to be a lot of excitement. And where does it go from here with the unfortunate departure of one Kang, and what is next for the Marvel Universe? We did give in the box office graveyard awards, the thing that will live up to the hype in 24 would be the new Deadpool movie with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. We're all excited. We think it'll match the hype. But Echo is the newest of series that's going to hit next week on Hulu. You know, I was like, I like the introduction of this character I think there was the Hawkeye series.
Mm-hmm.
You saw a little bit of Kingpin post the original Netflix Daredevil series.
Yep.
And I was like, but then when I read that episode 1 has a 6-minute single take fight scene between Echo and Daredevil, I'm like, okay, maybe you're going to bring something different than we haven't seen in a while. What do you all think about this? Do you think it's going to be good? Because that's how you bring in people. Like when you say up front, we're not going to tease this. We're basically going to say this is going to happen in episode 1.
Yeah, I think it. I mean, I think there's a lot of potential. Like they have if they can keep doing that and that's what happens in the episode, and then people know that, and it's like, so every time they tell us something's going to happen, it's going to happen. Like that, just knowing the ending but not knowing where it's going to happen in the episode is also pretty rad too. It's like okay, well, I don't know when we find this out, and so there's like anxiety. But I mean, look, I hope they keep the original Netflix formula because it worked really well for all of those Marvels. So we'll see if this has that flavor behind it, and that does happen. That's where it pays off.
Look, I remember last year, and I think one of the box office graveyards went to Secret Invasion, and I was hyped, and I said that was going to be the pinnacle of what the entire year was going to be, and then it was a swift disappointment. And I remember first people were talking about all the trouble and all the situations they were having with Daredevil and Echo and rewriting and everything else. But I've also heard from behind the scenes that one, this is the first time that they're actually going to do a dubbed version in a Native American language, which is extremely interesting because I thought that's something that I don't think, other than maybe Dances with Wolves and a couple other films, we really haven't seen that, and someone take that level of detail. But secondly, this was a good character. The Hawkeye series was by far one of the best Marvel series. It was a sleeper because I didn't think it was going to be even as entertaining as it was, and that's how you introduce a new character and an old character and bring in villains. It did a great job of honoring Jeremy Renner's work, and then also the new version, and also a great slash villain, which so far it wasn't really kind of villainish. And I thought they brought all the Netflix back. Now this 6-minute fight scene reminds me of what they did in with Charlie Cox as Daredevil, and that one sequence. Like if they're putting that kind of effort and entertainment into this, then I think it's going to do extremely well. And I like the fact that it's a mature audience, and it's also premiering on Hulu and Disney Plus. So they're giving it the best chance they can to actually grab you and grab your eyes, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not heard good things about it, but this is also from behind the scenes before anyone has seen it. And part of, the cynical part of me thinks, oh, they're dubbing it into Navajo because they need people to watch this thing. But I don't know. It's when they release it all at once, which is this is also the first time they're doing that too.
Yeah.
That does not bode well for me because it seems like, I don't think we're going to have people continuing to watch this week to week. We might get them one night and we'll see how far they get.
That's not necessarily true. That's how they release Hulu. A lot of the series is on Hulu. A lot of the Marvel series is, and I think
it's just all at once.
The Hardy Boys. There's a lot of Hulu series that are dropped all at once as well too. Now they pick and choose some of that, but there were a couple of the original Marvel series that they did before they did the new Marvel television. Those Hellstorm and all those were all dropped at once on Hulu. So that format has been followed on Hulu before with some of the Marvel series. So I don't think that was the point. I just thought that, look, they've got a series. They know that they've got another mega series that they're still in the middle of doing, and they're going to drop a little bit more. I've even heard that
redoing.
I've heard Hit Monkey's coming back for season 2. So they're getting stuff together. And besides, if you haven't watched Hit Monkey, you should watch Hit Monkey. It's pretty good. I think they're trying to start the year off on a better note than last year. And I think this is a character, unlike most of the Marvel characters that we're used to seeing. You've got a person who is like, who's deaf, who speaks in Navajo language, that you have like, the Kingpin, which we've all want to see more, like, Chris was just talking about a Vader series. We all want to see more of the Kingpin. And I think if you can get a little bit more of his origin and his upbringing, then that's going to be something we definitely want to see.
And this is a great actor for Kingpin. And
the best.
Luckily, they transferred him over to the Disney stuff.
Very smart move. That's one of the few Disney smart moves they've done.
Well, they said the Thanos of the street is what which I think is awesome. If you can make him just as badass.
Well, I mean, he was the villain in Spider-Man, Daredevil, Punisher, all the street level people in New York.
Look, even I'll give credit where credit's due. He put it down in the Daredevil series. You cannot have Charlie Cox without having, the Kingpin, and they just did a great job of all those characters moving in. And it was like, even though they had like Bullseye and a couple of the characters showing, no, it was the Kingpin and Daredevil you wanted to see. Well, now here's the person who is supposed to be the protege to the Kingpin. And we saw how that if we're spoiling this, if you watch Hawkeye, there was a very kind of tense scenario that happened towards the end of that series between Echo and Kingpin. So I think the street level characters have always done well for Marvel on television. I think this is a very good move. And even with Daredevil popping up at the end of the year, I think they're kind of getting back to some of that, not everything has to be super special effects and aliens and everything else. We can just deal with the people in the inner city.
Yeah. I forgot about, because when Disney Plus came out, they pumped out a few new MCU, and I forgot about how good that was, that Hawkeye series, and the Captain America and
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
It was all right, but it was way better than the new stuff that's come out.
I think they hit their stride in the beginning, and I think Hawkeye was probably the pinnacle, because out of all, it was kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think we wrote that off before we saw it, and then it turned out to be, well, actually, this was pretty entertaining, well written, and it was just really, and it's probably one of the things we should have done for that retrospect Christmas series.
Next year.
Well, for those of you who just tuned in or listening, this is the Shadow Knows Crew podcast here. This is our live stream that we do every Friday evenings. We talk about a variety of different things: pop culture, comic books, TV series. We like to rag on Star Wars and Marvel a lot, but we also like to celebrate good stuff too. And also check out our various links in the channel. We've got some really cool stuff on YT as well. So I think it's now time for our best of series. So we do this on a regular basis every episode, where we do the best of series. Could be the best of sci-fi films of all time, the best toys of all time. And this week is the best of series, the best comic book cover artists of all time. So for those of you who are not as much into comics, this is basically the artwork of the front of the comic book. So you walk into the store and you see amazing artwork that you gravitate towards and you purchase, and it might be good writing, might be good drawing inside, but at the end of the day, it's the cover that really attracted your eyes. And in the comic book industry, sometimes, especially the collector's world, the art is what gets people excited and moves books and makes money. And so we want to talk through what of our favorites of all time when it comes to the cover artists. And the cover artists could be the same as the people who actually drew the book, but in a lot of cases it's not. So anything I'm missing here for a lot of the comic book fans or non-comic book fans that are listening?
No, I think he actually capsulized that
Yeah.
really well, man. I think just like, whether you think of where the comic books are Time Magazine and everything else like that, there's great covers that's going to draw people's interest, and
Mhm.
just pretty much going to be who does it the best in comics.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. The best
right.
of best comic book cover artists of all time.
Well,
Who starts?
Chet, we'll let Chet start first because we all know his answer.
I wonder who it's going to be.
Well, so I got a few. But my first one would be John Romita,
Oh yes,
because
Senior or junior?
Yeah, that's junior. Or I was going to ask
senior,
senior,
because
okay.
he did the Spider-Man cover with Mysterio, and no one can draw Mysterio without heavily referencing John Romita's work. And he is a phenomenal artist all the way around. Just his covers are timeless. I actually have that Spider-Man one in my office. So, but yeah, that's one of mine.
Well, I'm going to put this out because number one, not only is he a friend of the channel, but he did some amazing work for us, Mr. Tim Bradstreet. If you've read any issue of The Punisher back in the 2000s and you saw those basic, almost photorealistic covers, that was Tim Bradstreet. If you picked up any of the Hellblazers and you saw a cover that looked photorealistic, that was Mr. Tim Bradstreet. The guy just does excellent work. And there's the cover that he did for us.
Yes,
had a
Tim
chance.
Bradstreet cover we were able to get for our graphic novel.
Yeah, he's a great dude, man. But also he's just a very talented artist. And I remember with that piece, he pretty much said he normally doesn't do a lot of outside work, but we told us, send him the book. And then he said, well, I've got a cover idea. And when we saw the cover, we knew he actually read the book, actually. So, kudos to him. But that's basically a biased plug. But Tim Bradstreet goes on top of our list.
But I mean, he is one of the greats. Like, literally, when we sat down, like, well, who should we get to do a cover? We had two names on our list. It was Alex Ross and Tim Bradstreet. And we actually got Tim Bradstreet somehow. And that's actually thanks to Mr. Storm.
Well, that's actually thanks to Chris for coming up with the idea. And then it was like, I
don't have anything to do with that art or that cover. But it's pretty badass to have Tim Bradstreet, who, as you said, synonymous with Punisher books. It happens to be during that run so great. I'm going to say, speaking of Hellblazer, because I was a big fan, if you all remember Dave McKean, who did interesting covers, more like the kind of the creepy, kind of more the sketch paint type of artwork, who also became incredibly famous for some of the covers of the Sandman. That art and those covers, super collectible, and I think encapsulated the Hellblazer feel, but also the work on Sandman was awesome. So definitely in my top 5 for sure.
One of my favorites is Mike Mignola.
Yes.
And before he was known for Hellboy, he did Gotham by Gaslight. He did the alternate covers for Death in the Family, which is really cool. Robin Dead never looked as scary as when Mignola did them. But there's all sorts of stuff that he's done. A lot of Batman's. Beautiful.
Well, I'm going to knock this out of the way because I know somebody's screaming at their television set right now. Mr. Alex Ross.
I mean, probably number 1, right?
Yeah,
like, although Chet might have a counter to that, but yeah. When your art goes for thousands of dollars at conventions, you're. And when I say thousands, like people paying like $10,000 for like a framed piece from Alex Ross.
Yeah. I would state that maybe the phenomena Alex Ross is more like Andy Warhol, because he did a
I was just
piece
gonna- he- I was
of
just-
he did a piece of the Statue of Liberty being bitten. I think it was by George W. Bush or something, was it?
Yep.
Or one and two. And I remember that went viral outside of comics. And like, there were made t-shirts and hats and everything else. And I see that image all the time. And he did I gifted that to Dr. Brentley last year for Christmas. But that Fantastic Four graphic novel that he just did last year was probably single-handedly probably one of the best Marvel looking books that Marvel did not produce, by the way.
So, yeah,
that I've
so
ever
beautiful.
seen. Yeah. Mr. Maddox. I think he's pulling up.
No, I'm not pulling it up. I was thinking of a cover. I couldn't find it. I don't remember who did it. But one of my other nominees for this is Scotty Young.
Of course.
I got to give it to him. I mean, like he's made such a massive impact on like the Marvel line just from doing the baby variants that it's like, I mean, he's been doing it for a very long time, and his other art is fantastic as well, like not just the Marvel stuff. I'm also biased because I don't know very many left-handed artists in there, and so he feels the struggle that I feel when I'm trying to draw, and it's all wiping off. I think, yeah, I mean, and he not only is he great at the art, he's also great at storytelling because he did his own he's done 2 or 3 of his own comics on Image as well. So like, just fantastic all around. I don't know, I like him. He's good, and I spent a lot of money on all of his covers anyway. Like a lot of them. So,
well, if you listen to the podcast previously of like best comic book runs and all that, you've probably know that I'm a big Garth Ennis fan, and with Garth Ennis comes Preacher and comes Hellblazer titles, and Glenn Fabry, who did a lot of the mid 90s artwork for those runs. Really cool art. Again, captures like this horror, like grotesque kind of feel to the series. Cool portrait style. Definitely one of the best cover artists, and biased because of the books that he was synonymous with, but really good stuff in the mid 90s.
Yeah, I'll jump in with Frank Frazetta. Not a lot of comic book work, but probably one of the next to Alex Ross, probably known as probably one of the best cover artists of the planet. Before Alex Ross was Alex Ross, there was Frank Frazetta. The man has a museum after him, for God's sakes. And so, that goes to tell you like the amount of work and everything that he's done. If you've ever seen his painted work, fantastic. He's a great fantasy artist, and he definitely gets put on the top of the list and everything. And I'm sure Alex Ross would probably say that's probably one of his inspirations, to be honest.
Todd McFarlane.
Yes.
Now, before all the Spider-Man and Spawn stuff, he was doing covers for Batman. He was doing covers of like Hulk and fantastic stuff, and that's where he really started. But before all the famous stuff, he was doing covers that were amazing.
Do you remember in the early 90s an artist, Simon Beasley, who did
yes
Lobo,
Batman, Lobo, Doom Patrol?
he was
some of the awesome work when I was in the comic shops pretty relentlessly. His artwork definitely stood out, like especially the Lobo and the Batman stuff. I don't think anybody's done Lobo any better than that. Like, that was a book that was so hot in the early 90s. And I think it had a lot to do with like the cover art. So that's one that stands out for sure.
Yeah, I'll throw in Mr. Jay Lee, which
Jay
Dr.
Lee.
Brittley and I had the honor of sitting down and having a very interesting Comic-Con dinner one time. The first time I saw his work on Namor, I looked and said, that guy's going to be a superstar. You could just look at his work. His line work was a little bit of Mike Mignola, a little bit of his own, a little bit of Joe Quesada, possibly, maybe a lot of, Larry Stroman. You could see that all in his work. And yet he captured it in such a way of black and whites and ink. He just, and also he's really great guy to talk to. That's our 50 Shades of Alan Moore kind of connection that we've ever had, or five degrees of Alan Moore. That's where we got that from.
If you're going with Jay Lee, why not Jim Lee? Because Batman has never looked better. The X-Men have never looked better. Punisher has never looked better. I mean, it's just everything he did was amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like the iconic versions of those characters. Like everything that DC puts out on pajamas and all that shit, that's Jim Lee artwork.
Yeah.
True.
Well, we can't forget about two cover artists that I think were really focused in on the female comic book characters. Adam Hughes.
I was just
did okay, Chad, if you want to get an Adam Hughes, but also say J. Scott Campbell. Obviously, I mean, if it comes to mind, those two.
I'll throw in the third, Michael Turner. God rest his soul.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Those three were the ones that they just shaped all the books, and whenever you saw an illustration of a female that was just done in such a just exaggerated but great way, those three guys come to mind.
Adam Hughes' work on Wonder Woman was awesome.
Oh yes,
and you know what, J. Scott Campbell did pretty good, like when he didn't do female characters, but obviously he's known for like a lot of that and those covers in the late 90s, early 2000s for sure.
Yeah, I'm even going to say, I know Chet said the senior, but John Romita Jr. He's like father and son. Come on, man. It's like two probably of the long-standing runs on Spider-Man. It's like you don't really kind of see that happening. Yet, different art styles, same influences, same principles, and same work ethics. You don't see that in comics anymore.
And you can't have the Romitas without the Adams.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All three of them.
Rest his soul, lost him last year. Was always on his Instagram lives just calculating my cards at that's like $15,000 if I want to buy it. I mean, Neil Adams, like fantastic.
Yeah. And let's also throw in the Kuberts.
Oh yeah,
Kubert, Andy Kubert, Adam Kubert. It's like, look, the legacies of like Marvel and DC right here. You got to give them all credit, and I will also give credit to also Mr. John Burns. Because again, he's his work in the 80s is the pinnacle of work, and I don't think a lot of people put it in any way where you kind of see that going on and not, and you're kind of wondering to yourself, it's like, did we forget John Burns? I think he does get forgotten in the modern age a little bit more now. So thank you, Mr. John Burns, wherever you're at.
And along with that, George Perez.
Oh,
he did some of the most detailed versions where no one can get as many characters into a frame as George Perez can.
Jeez,
But I think that late 80s, early 90s stuff was fantastic.
I remember I think, didn't he do the Avengers and the Justice League?
Yeah,
he did a cover, and it was like
double gatefold. Yeah,
but he used like every Avenger, every Justice League member, like even the unknown guys that his covers are massive. Yeah, he was just a fantastic cover artist, man. Wow, I'm sure somebody would have been screaming at the top of their lungs missing that guy. How about Mr. J.G. Jones? Who's known for Wanted and a bunch of other books. He's guy's got a great cover artist. Or I'll even throw in John Cassidy on this list, who did Planetary. And new cover style, new illustrations every month that was completely different.
And Astonishing X-Men also. Great run with Joss Whedon.
And you said
Brian Boland.
Oh, Brian Boland. Yeah.
Oh,
Killing Joke. That's one of the best covers ever.
And we'd like to welcome people into hour 5 of the best comic artists.
Oh yeah, I have a huge list still.
Well, I know some of them I didn't even have on the list, but you said Michael Turner. I was thinking like Witchblade and Mike Choi, who's done all that like stuff. All the like his stuff is great. Like this could go on. Also, the worst comic book covers of all time. Rob Liefeld, box office favorite award coming to you. But that's for another topic. Another day.
Wait a minute though. My man does have iconic covers, not for the right reasons, but he does have the most iconic Captain America that's ever existed.
Yep.
Again, like I said, we go all night on this one.
We forgot to size down that VHS screenshot.
I'm gonna go real quick through my list of outstanding things just to speed shit up. But I mean, Frank Miller, amazing shit. Again, before he was famous for his personal stuff, he was doing Batman covers, and there was one of my favorites. Let's see, Jeff Darrow, who worked with Frank, but he's the most detailed guy I think working out there. Dave Gibbons. Jim Steranko. I love all that Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the 60s stuff. Norm Brayfogle, my personal favorite for Batman. Jock.
Oh, yeah, Jock. Yeah, Jock's put it down.
Mike Texera. All the, what was it, like Punisher, Ghost Rider, all that stuff. J.H. Williams 3. I loved his stuff when he was doing what was it, Batwoman. Those were some of the most beautiful covers, and I started buying that series just for the covers. And Dale Keown, one of my favorites is that the Hulk cover where it's just like and they did it in different, the printings in different
I think
colors,
they also did
like
3D
green and pink and all shit, but beautiful stuff.
Also, let's not forget Mr. The reason why Spawn is still great and everything, Mr. Greg Capullo, because there's a guy that can do some covers. He went across from Batman to now, and I've heard he's over at Marvel, so we're going to see some really great stuff.
Yeah,
now.
I was gonna say that because I was like, I know, like Greg was responsible for like the whole New 52 run. His covers were like, I mean, I chased some of those covers. Like I think I have almost a complete collection minus like 2 covers. So
which ones do you need? Because I bought the run at the time.
I think if we ever did a thing where it's like if we narrowed down like the best covers of a run, like Alex Ross on the Kingdom Come run.
Yes.
I mean, those you could just put up on a wall. Like those are epic, right? Like, but there's a few of those like that where you just collect them for that. But we could literally go all night talking about that. Are there any other big ones we're missing before we wrap the best of the series?
I will say the old school guys, Jack Kirby, John Buscema, Steve Ditko, that we didn't talk about.
Exactly.
There's a couple others probably, but those were the ones
Kirby.
that
Got to give Jack the man,
Well, and it's like all the stuff that's built on them, because you see, reinterpretations of their covers and, more detailed, but essentially it's like, oh, we're doing what they did back in the 60s.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, another phenomenal best of series with the best comic book cover artists of all time. So check them out and see for yourself. If you have any other suggestions, let us know where you can follow us on multiple different streaming social media platforms. The Shadow Crew podcast is available, including this replay of this stream will be available if you missed anything, if you're watching now and didn't catch the first half of the cast. We're also looking forward to dropping on some of the other major podcasts networks, so stay tuned. But again, give us a follow, the Shadow Knows Network. So, with that being said, before we wrap things up for this episode 21, a special note to our sponsor, Mr. Storm.
Well, like I said again, as usual, we always get down to this. Like I said, look, if anything, we can be bought in every possible way. just let it out there. It's like if some other sponsor says, "Hey, man," it's like we're if you got the right money, Shadow Crew will do it. But they didn't have to drop anything really for us, so they did. Is Toys versus Games. We thank them for every week sponsoring the Shadow Crew podcast and making this show available. Even though it's on the most meagerest budget of the entire planet. The Toys versus Games make sure that we're always taken care of. It's a mom and pop store. It's in Wilmington, California. If you're out in the Southern California area and you're looking for something other than the Targets, the Walmarts, most of the big box stores, you don't want to go on Big Bad Toy Store, you don't want to go to Entertainment Earth or anything, then pop in and spend your money for people that will remember you when you come in the door and will hunt down the items that you're looking for. And that's what you get at Toys versus Games. It's not just for action figures alone. You can they have some vintage actual video games there, and they put on several events throughout the year where they do a video game market on the outside. And so, a lot of swapping and picks and things like that happen to come from it. So we like to thank them. It's always a pleasure for them being a sponsor of the cast.
Awesome. Well, again, check out our various social media channels. We're on Instagram, we're on YT, we're on various other things. Check us out. And we've got a lot of other content, a lot of other things like holiday retrospects, Mr. Storm, Dr. Brantley, Chet Maddox. Chet is always delivering some amazing reviews on various topics in pop culture, including toys, and more to come on toy finds and things of that nature. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Any last words before we adjourn, gentlemen?
No, it's always a pleasure, brother. It's always a pleasure. I love my Friday nights and everything, especially on our new platform. Everybody that's popped in, thank you so much. And let's just keep this growing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
See you later.
Have a good night.